How you guys doing? It's been a while since I made a video. My friend Chris537's stopped by the other day and brought me this tote full of dead Commodore 64s to repair. So as you can see, I have 9 of them already repaired, and I saved one to do a video on. So anyways, let's check it out and we'll start the process. Alright, here's the machine in question. As you can see, it's pretty dirty and gross, and Chris went ahead and added this. Pretty dead, no flicker. I guess that means no flashing codes and dead test cartridge. Literally no sockets. It's a 407 board. So anyways, we have some initial information to go off of. Let's go ahead and crack it open and see what we get inside of there and go from there. Alright, here's the inside of the machine. It's obviously pretty dusty and everything, which isn't very uncommon for 30-plus-year-old Commodore 64s. So I've got the video and the power connected, have the monitor on, and we're getting nothing. Now the other interesting thing is I'm not even getting a black screen. So you look over here, I don't know if you can see that, but it sure looks like that fuse is bad. So let's go ahead and stick a fuse in here and see what happens. Alright, we've got a new fuse in here. Now let's see what happens. Well, we're getting actual black screen now, which that's an improvement. But not getting anything else. So it looks like we're going to have to delve into this one a little bit further. Let's see what it gives us on the dead test cartridge. Okay, we got the dead test plugged in now. Let's fire it up, see what we get. Now, as I've mentioned before, the dead test takes a few seconds to boot up here, so we're going to give it a minute. And, wow, my screen's dusty. I'll have to clean that off. And it's not looking like we're getting any action on the dead test either. So if you look at this board, obviously there's nothing socketed on it, everything's soldered directly to the board. In this situation, my first port of call is PLA. It's pretty much the #1, high failure rate component in a Commodore 64. So something we can do here real quick just to check. We can piggyback the PLA. And that's not something I recommend you do for any length of time, but just for a quick test, it won't hurt anything. I've done it a lot of times. So let's go ahead and try that and see that. We've got a PLA piggybacked on there. So let's see what we get this time. And there's still dust on my screen. Apologize about that. Well, would you look at that? We've got dead test now. So that pretty much tells me the PLA is gone. So we're going to have to take the board out of here and desolder the back shielding. This being an NTSC machine, it's got the annoying shield on the back that needs to be desoldered. So we're definitely going to have to whip the PLA out of this one for sure. And as from then on out, I'm not sure if the board's going to need anything else, but we will certainly test it. So let's get to disassembly. Alright, I got the board removed, got the back shielding desoldered, and I also went ahead and removed the PLA, installed the socket, and now I have a Plankton installed. So let's just go ahead and try the board now without the dead test, see what happens. How about that? It's pretty nice to see that screen. So now let's chuck my Easy Flash cartridge in there and see what we get. Okay, so I have the SID chip I removed from the other board, and it's installed my chip testing board with my Easy Flash cartridge. Now the reason why I'm doing it this way It's because, as I've mentioned before, SID chips are very rare and precious, so I want to make daggone sure that bad SID chip I pulled out really is bad. So by putting it in a known good working board, I can determine that. And it is not making a sound. Can't really feel it getting hot yet, but it's only been on a second. So let's continue. The board back on the bench here. I went ahead and stuck a Swin SID in the SID chip socket. And got the Easy Flash still installed. So let's go ahead and try the Swin SID out now. We got the ding. That's a good sign. Turn the volume up some. Hey, how about that? The reason why I did it this way, because with an unknown board, you don't go sticking known good SID chips in them. You know, it's just a paranoia type thing. So, so far it looks like this board's working pretty good. I think we're going to go ahead and slap the diagnostic test harness on it, and we're going to check the 12 volt voltage just to be sure before I put a real SID chip in here. So stay tuned. That's coming up. Okay, we got the diagnostic test harness set up. Let's go ahead and fire it up, and let's see what we get. I went ahead and stuck a real SID chip in it this time. I checked the voltage, and we're getting exactly 12 volts to the SID chip, so I know nothing's crazy there, so I wasn't too scared to put a real one in this time. The fact that the Swin SID was working pretty much told me that as well. So as I've said before in this channel, the diagnostic test harness is not really what a lot of people think it is. The machine basically has to already be running. Well, this is interesting. It says our keyboard port is bad. So we might have a bad PLA, or CIA rather. We already replaced the PLA. And our test is hanging up on control port right after keyboard. So I think what we're going to do now is try to boot the machine in the BASIC with a real keyboard attached and see if we get anything. Now I just ran this again. I went ahead and unplugged the diagnostic test harness, tried a real keyboard on it, and I was getting characters on the screen typing on the keyboard. So that told me the CIA is probably working okay. Because CIA1 is what controls the joystick port and the keyboard port. CIA2 actually controls the serial port. And as you can see, now the diagnostic test harness is telling me that CIA2 is bad. Now, a lot of times, a good percentage of the time, these problems are actually attributed to dirt on the user port and cassette port connectors, particularly the user port. I don't know why this is, but they seem to oxidize a lot. So a good trick you can do to clean them is either use one of these. This is a fiberglass scratch pen. It's a really mild abrasive that you can use for polishing contacts like that. Or you can also use the old video game cartridge trick of a pink pencil eraser, and that'll take some of the dirt off, and follow it up with some isopropyl alcohol and a Q-tip. That also works. So let's mess around with this connector here and see if we can't get this to stop telling us the CIA is bad. Again, that's why I tell you that this test harness, you really have to take what it tells you with a grain of salt. Because just because this thing says, oh, CIA2 is bad, doesn't mean you need to get out the soldering iron right away and rip out the second CIA. Because this thing is just a piece of software. You got to do a little bit of diagnostic work with your brain in order to determine if what the program is telling you is actually the case or not. So let's go ahead and try this. I went ahead and messed around with this connector, and it's still telling me that CIA2 is bad. So what I'm going to do now is attempt to load something over the serial port and see if the serial port's working. So we'll try that out next and see if the diagnostic test harness is telling us the truth or not. So sure enough, I hooked up the 1541 Ultimate 2 Plus, tried loading something off of the serial port and it's just hanging. So in this instance, it looks like CIA number 2 might actually be bad. So it looks like we're going to have to remove that and test it in my chip testing board and see what happens then. Alrighty, so I have my chip testing board out once again. Test harness is hooked up. I have the CIA U2 from the other board removed and installed on this board. So let's see what happens. Now, if this thing was telling us the truth, this CIA should be bad. It's always fun sitting here waiting for all the memory tests to complete before you get to the part you really care about. Now keep in mind the SID chip is missing on this board, so it's going to tell me control port's bad. But I already expect that, so sorry for the flicker here. A little hard to film a CRT. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, interrupts work, everything. That tells me that CIA is working exactly as it's supposed to. So we're going to have to investigate this a little further, because the serial port on the other board definitely was not working correct. Went ahead and got my schematics out for the 250407. So anyway, you can see there, got the serial bus as it's coming in. These lines make their way down here. As you can see, it's utilizing the 7406, which is U8, before it goes into CIA U2. Now, if this CIA works, the only other real thing besides some passives that are in between it and the actual serial bus itself is U8. And I have seen U8 be partially failed before to cause this problem. So I think our next port of call is to investigate U8 on the board. So I'm going to go ahead and yank it out of there as well and then see what happens. Alrighty, so I have U8, which is actually it's a 74LS06 is what it's supposed to be. The chip that was actually in that board was a 7416, which actually does work as well. I've seen 16s in a lot of boards. So anyways, there's the original chip that was in there. And yes, that chip has a date code of 1977. That's a 7406. I don't even remember where I got it, but it's a lot older than a Commodore 64, but it's been doing a good job in my chip testing board. So anyways, let's go ahead and fire this up and see what we get now. Now to recap, I've got the CIA U2 from the other board in there, as well as U8. So let's see what we get this time. Now, if this doesn't happen to fix the problem, we're going to have to check some of the passives. There's some pull-up resistors and I think a couple diodes as well that are associated with the serial port. And I have seen those go bad as well. So go ahead and see what this gives us. But when I first started this video, I was kind of hoping that this machine would end up being something interesting, instead of just slapping a PLA in it and calling it a day, because, you know, that's fun, but well, would you look at that? It's telling us that U2 is bad now. And all I've done is put that U8 in there. So as you can see, the test harness doesn't always tell you the truth. It points you in the right direction, but you got to use your brain from there on out. So in this case, I really didn't have to desolder CIA U2. If I would have just desoldered U8, I would have fixed the problem. But you know, that's the thing. That's the you know, that's the logical path you've got to go down really sometimes to do this sort of stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and solder U2 back in the board and go ahead and find another 7406 that's good and put it in the board, and we should be in business. So anyways, let me go ahead and take care of that, and we should be able to wrap this sucker up. Alrighty, got the board back on the bench here. Went ahead and reinstalled U2 because it tested good. And I've also swapped out U8 for another 7416. It's worth noting it's supposed to be a 7406, but 7416s also work as well. So let's go ahead and fire up the test harness again. And something's going on here. Oh, just took it a second. So here we go. We're going through the whole routine here all over again. So hopefully, if my fix was correct, we shouldn't get any problems with the serial port anymore. Now I'm pretty confident we got this problem licked. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. Like I said, I have seen that happen a couple times where U8 partially fails and causes the serial port to die. So as you can see, we're even getting some sweet SID chip sounds. From what I can tell, that's a 100% working Commodore board. Pretty impressive. So now, let's fire up a game. Alrighty, got the board set back up. Got the testing keyboard hooked up. Got the 1541 Ultimate 2 in there. So here we got her fired up. Let's get a game going. How about some Galencia? You can hear the drive sound emulation going on the 1541 Ultimate. Oh yeah. Protovision, creating the future. See, I figured we'd load up some Galencia on here, because, you know, why not? Should be in good shape. It's gonna be a little hard to sit here and play Galencia though, one hand holding the tablet, but yeah, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. But as you can see, it's definitely doing the trick. So anyways, that's another machine repaired. I'm not going to worry about doing any of the cosmetic repairs or anything, because Chris just wanted me to get the boards working. He said he was going to take care of, you know, cleaning the keyboards, replacing missing keys, and that sort of a thing. So anyways, got this dead board going again after who knows how long. So anyhow, thanks for watching, and hope to come back with another video at some point in the future. Take care, everybody.